Good afternoon, my magnificent young entrepreneurs. Are you ready to learn some law and make some money? Okay, today we are going to talk about where do I get the money for starting up my business. Now, you can spend your lifetime hoping and saving and scraping and hoping that someday you come up with enough money on your own. But you know, one of the most disheartening things that I ever saw in these classes was a young man who told us that his dream was to start a custom car building company. And he said, I'm saving my money, and I figure if I'm really careful and I scrimp and save for about 20 years, then I'll have enough money to start my business. Well, hey, does anybody know for sure that they have 20 years of life still coming? You could get hit by a bus tomorrow and your life is over. The only day you know for sure that you have for living the life you want to live is right now, today. Today is the only day you know for sure you get. So if there are other people in the world looking for new business ventures to invest in or looking for people to loan money to, and you can get your money from some other source, should you wait 20 years that you may not have to start your business? I don't think so. And I know at least one millionaire who's had 8 or 9 successful business ventures who told me, he laughed. I said, well, how much money of your own are you going to put into this new venture? And he laughed and he said, Bob, I have never used my own money to start any of my businesses. I always use somebody else's money. Well, I'm not suggesting that that's the best plan for you, but I am suggesting that you consider the possibility that there are a number of different ways for you to get the money you need to start a business venture and get the money now. So before we go into that, though, the quote of the day, which is very relevant, is boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. That's by Goethe. So if you are going to get your money from somebody else, the chances are you're going to have to ask somebody for it. And that requires courage and boldness. It requires your ability to overcome your own reservations, the things that hold you back. And in other life lessons in this course, we're going to talk about where do you get the kind of courage that won't fail you in the critical moment? How do you overcome the conversations in your own mind that hold you back? And also the incredible power there is in just asking for exactly what it is that you want. But for today, let's look at where do we get the money? Most common ways, sources of money, first of all, your own personal wealth. Ideally, you could say, hey, I have my own money and I'll start the business on my own money. I don't need investors or a loan. Thank you very much. I'm off to the races. Of course, if you had that kind of money, you might not be starting a business venture in the first place. And most of us do not live in a perfect world, and we don't have that kind of money. So we have to look other places. Another very common source of funding for new businesses is loans or investments from relatives or wealthy friends. And that starts a lot of businesses, but if you decide to go that way, please be very careful, because we are going to talk in a few minutes about at least 3 ways that if you get the money from mom or dad to start your business, you could ruin mom or dad's life. So pay particularly close attention when we get to the part about how to ruin mom's life, okay? Third place would be bank loans. But in most cases, when you are asking for money for a new startup business, you won't be able to get any money from the bank because it's too risky and the failure rate's too high and they won't loan you money. Ironically, the bank usually wants to loan you money when you finally get to the point in your business where you don't really need it anymore. So bank loans are probably out for small startups, but just in case you're one of the lucky ones and you do get a bank loan, we're going to talk about 6 different ways that you can get into serious trouble dealing with your banker. And so pay close attention when we get to the banking portion of this class. Fourth way to come up with the money to start a business. Some people are so desperate to start their own business, to stop working for a boss, or they believe they have the one idea that's going to make a fortune. They mortgage their houses and take the money out of their house to start a business. I don't recommend that you do that unless you're so sure that your business is going to succeed that you're willing to risk losing your house. Because if your business fails and you're mortgaged to the hilt, chances are you're going to lose your house. A fifth way that people, when they're desperate, sometimes try to finance or get enough money to finance the startup of a business is credit cards. They borrow money on their credit cards. I strongly recommend that you do not try this way of financing a business because the interest rates and the cost of servicing credit card debt is so high that it eats up all your profits, and pretty soon you're operating with no profit at all and you lose the business. Credit card interest rates are just too high to justify borrowing money to start a business. A sixth potential source of money, startup money, is venture capitalists. Venture capitalists are people that will find investors or provide investment money for you in exchange for a partial ownership interest in the business you intend to start up. If you need a lot of money and you don't think you're going to be successful in finding investors on your own, venture capitalists might be the way for you to go. But finally, the other major source of money for starting up a business is investors. And you might take investors, you might sell them shares of stock in your corporation or memberships in your LLC or limited liability company. You might take them on as limited partners or get them to come in as partnership interests. So there's a number of different ways that you could get investment money from investors. But you have to be careful with investment money because many types of investments are classified as securities under the Securities and Exchange Commission laws. And if the kind of investment money you're looking for is security, then you're going to have to either register with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is a long and very expensive process, and you only want to do that if you're going to raise a lot of money, or you're going to have to qualify for one of the exemptions from SEC registration. And if you're a small startup company and you're only looking for a relatively small amount of investment money, no more than, in some cases like no more than $5 million, there are some exemptions from registration, and we'll talk about the various types of exemption from Securities and Exchange registration. So that's where we're going in the course.